2 days before my wedding, Carl Newton, my fiancé, sent me a text asking to postpone the wedding by a day. Bewildered, as I was trying on my wedding gown at a bridal shop, I called him immediately. To my surprise, a woman named Naomi answered and explained that they were playing Truth or Dare, and Carl had to pretend to be her boyfriend for 3 days. I decided to contact my father and agreed to reconsider the alliance he had mentioned earlier. He voiced his concerns about taking marriage lightly, but agreed to proceed if I still felt the same the next morning. Arriving at a bar later, I found Carl drunk and cozying up to Naomi. The crowd's cheers and laughter revealed that Carl had supposedly achieved the dare. Naomi fell silent as she helped Carl stand straight, but he frowned and pulled away. "Why did you let go of me, Naomi?" "You are my girlfriend now," he slurred. Without saying a word, I picked up a bottle of mineral water, walked over, and poured it over his head. "You sober now?" I asked. He wiped his face, his eyes cold and devoid of guilt. "Brooke Tate, are you crazy?" he snapped. Once he realized it was me, Carl's tone remained indifferent. No hint of apology, only annoyance. "You came just in time," he said flatly. "I lost the dare. I have to pretend to date Naomi for 3 days. I already told my assistant to inform all our guests the wedding is postponed by one day." In the past, I might have cried or argued, but this time I was perfectly calm. "All right," I said. "One day." However, in my heart, I had already made the final decision. Carl would no longer be the groom. I sent my father a message. "I've made up my mind. I will not change it again." "Good, good," he replied. "I always told you. Carl was not right for you. I will start making." The arrangements were set. As Carl pulled Naomi close, a smirk played on his lips. "See, I told you she wouldn't leave me," he declared to the gathered crowd. "Brooke, you understand this is all just for show. Naomi and I are only playing the couple for today. We'll go back to normal. We're still getting married." His words stung, igniting a deep sense of humiliation within me. The pain cut deeper than I had anticipated, crushing 8 years of love beneath the weight of a childish charade with his ex. Silently, I turned and walked away, my face flushed with emotion. The onlookers seemed taken aback by my response. "Carl," someone whispered, but I didn't look back. I had reached my limit. Carl's assumption that I would come back like before was met with silence this time. I had had enough of fighting for a love that felt like mere scraps. If this was the value he placed on me, then I wanted no part of it. And so, without a word, I walked away. Reflecting on the past, as soon as I arrived home, I grabbed my phone and accessed Naomi's social media profile. There it was, a realization that I had lost a game of truth or dare to my first love. Now, we were reunited for a brief 3 days. Uncertain about what to do next, I felt a surge of nervousness. Below the post, I read Carl's disheartening comment: "When two people who love each other cannot be together, they should cherish these final moments." The sentiment made me feel nauseous. I promptly closed my phone, retrieved my wedding gown, and began cutting it into pieces. Every picture we had ever taken together meant the same fate as I tore them apart. Gathering all of his belongings, I disposed of them in the trash. Then I dialed my assistant's number. "Sell the wedding house," I instructed firmly. "Ensure it is no longer ours within 3 days." Instantly, word began to spread about Carl's called-off wedding. The following morning, Grandpa Newton appeared at my doorstep with Carl by his side. "Brooke," Grandpa Newton began gravely, "this situation is the fault of our family entirely. I disapprove of the decision to postpone the wedding." "Brooke, I knew you would pull something like this behind my back, pretending to agree in person, but then secretly complaining to my grandfather. Let me tell you, just because you talk to him does not mean I will do what you want." This time I absolutely refused to back down. Grandpa Newton slapped Carl across the face without warning. "What nonsense are you spouting? Brooke has not said a single word to our family about any of this. You are completely blinded by that woman, Naomi." Carl held his cheek, his eyes filled with fury as he glared at me. "Brooke, I have already made myself clear. I am going to marry you. All I asked was to delay the ceremony by one day, just one day. Do not think dragging Grandpa into this will make me end things with Naomi. She finally agreed to be my girlfriend for 3 days. I am not giving that up." Grandpa Newton made a move to hit him again, but I gently stepped in front of him and said softly, "Grandpa Newton, please, it is all right." Carl scoffed at me. "Brooke, stop pretending to be T. My dear, do you honestly believe that I will be appreciative simply because you shielded me from Grandpa? You always put on a facade of righteousness and selflessness, but I can see straight through it. It's obvious that you're just trying to manipulate the situation in your favor. Don't expect me to back down. If it weren't for our engagement, Naomi wouldn't have left the country. We would be together right now. All I want is to fulfill my desire and spend 3 days with her. If you can't even tolerate that, then you're the one being unreasonable." With resolve, I raised my hand and delivered a firm slap across his face. "Carl," I stated unwaveringly, "I won't stand in your way of being with Naomi. Let's call off the engagement." Carl looked at me in disbelief. Grandpa Newton's face flushed with anger. "Carl," he barked, "apologize to Brooke this instant." Carl smirked. Well, I clearly misread you. I never imagined you were so strategic, faking the breakup just to make me act. Our families have a binding agreement, and you know it's not so easily dissolved." Brooke refused to be ensnared by it, determined that Brooke would not emerge victorious. Storming off, he left behind an icy silence that reverberated through the room. Grandpa Newton regarded me with a sorrowful expression. "Brooke, Carl is simply confused at the moment. I will speak with him once we return." I shook my head resolutely. "Grandpa Newton, I am serious. I genuinely wish to end this engagement." His shocked gaze met mine. "Brooke, are you certain?" His surprise was understandable given the long-standing connection between our families. The Tates and the Newtons had been intertwined for generations. A bond forged when my grandfather saved Grandpa Newton's life held this engagement sacrosanct. The Newton family would never consider breaking it unless I sought to dissolve it. Throughout my upbringing, I had dutifully followed Carl. From infatuation as a teenager to getting engaged at my 18th birthday, I had spent 8 years chasing after him, adhering to his every wish and striving to win his approval. Every individual. Southbridge was aware of my strong feelings for him, yet I found myself having to end the engagement by my own accord. I assured everyone calmly that as long as I was still present, Naomi would not end up with him. This engagement had been set up by my grandfather, and out of respect for him, I would not go against his wishes. Looking directly at Grandpa Newton, I stated firmly, "And besides, Carl is not the only one in your family who could potentially marry me." He appeared surprised at first, then a flicker of recognition crossed his face as he remembered someone else. "Brooke, that would be a significant sacrifice for you," he acknowledged, pointing out the 8-year age difference. I gently shook my head, explaining that after careful consideration, I believed Joel would be a more suitable match for me compared to Carl's immature behavior. Grandpa Newton remained silent for a moment before reaching for the phone and calling Joel Newton, who was overseas. Joel was visibly shaken upon learning about the arranged engagement and immediately booked a flight back home that same night. Taking the initiative to end the engagement, I couldn't ignore the weight in my heart upon hearing the news. In an attempt to lift my spirits, my best friend took me out to dinner where fate unexpectedly brought us face to face with Carl and Naomi at the restaurant. Overhearing Naomi's soft voice from the neighboring table, she uttered, "Carl, you may not know this, but if I hadn't heard about your engagement, I wouldn't have left the country." Despite our brief charade of being a couple for just 3 days, "I find solace in knowing you are soon to be wed," Carl's murmured response, "Naomi. It was I who wronged you," led to a painful constriction in my chest. Suddenly, my best friend rose abruptly, pointing at Naomi and accusing her loudly. "I have never witnessed such audacity in someone. You were well aware of his upcoming marriage, yet you clung to him regardless. If you truly found contentment, you would offer your blessings, not seek to drive them apart." Caught in the midst of the tense exchange, Carl turned towards us with a steely expression. With a stern expression, he told Brooke, "Stop, please. I have explained this to you numerous times. I am only pretending to be Naomi's boyfriend for 3 days. After that, I will marry you, I assure you. There will be no inappropriate interactions between us. You don't need to follow me around every day like this." My best friend seemed ready to retaliate, but I intervened, holding her back. I looked at both of them calmly and replied to Carl, "Don't flatter yourself, Carl. I'm just here for a quiet meal, nothing more." Carl sneered, his eyes narrowing. "You expect me to believe that, Brooke? Remember when I was pursuing Naomi before? You used the same tactics, always finding reasons to be near me. And now you're back at it again. You move closer to shield Naomi. But this time you're wrong. I promised to marry you, but that doesn't mean I'll change my mind. Before I called off the engagement, I had always thought that. Maybe that wasn't good enough. That could be the reason why Carl could never truly like me. But as I stood there, observing his arrogant behavior, it dawned on me how foolish I had been. Love is either present or absent. There is no room for pretense. And this man before me, he was never deserving of my genuine affection. Meeting his gaze with a calm demeanor, I made it clear that his decision no longer held weight with me, as I had already made up my mind. With a composed yet firm voice, I ended our engagement, stating that from that moment on, we would each go our separate ways. I expressed my indifference towards his actions, be it pretending with Naomi or rushing to marry her at City Hall. I refused to be caught up in their drama. Naomi appeared surprised, while Carl seemed upset. Before he could reply, his phone buzzed and he received a message from his assistant about hotel reservations. His expression darkened as he read the details. Interrupting his train of thought, he addressed me sharply, but was cut off abruptly as he read further into the message on his phone. The engagement has been called off. I will no longer be reserving the hotel. I told Carl firmly, what I decide to do next is not your concern. He scowled in response. Naomi then intervened, apologizing to Carl for any trouble she may have caused. Carl, however, was insistent on continuing the tirade, declaring that for the next 3 days, he would only be Naomi's boyfriend. Despite Naomi's attempts to back out gracefully, Carl was firm in his decision to stick to the arrangement. As tensions rose, I finally spoke up. I wanted to enjoy a peaceful meal. Please escort these two individuals out of here, as this restaurant is not a suitable place for them. Carl let out a chilling laugh and retorted, Brooke, are you not thinking clearly? This establishment is owned by the Newton family. Who do you think you are to kick me out? Meeting his gaze, I calmly reminded him, you appear to have forgotten the arrangement regarding the heir to the Newton family. Due to my grandfather saving Mr. Newton's life in the past, the old patriarch decided that whoever married me would inherit the majority of the Newton estate. This restaurant was also gifted to me when Carl and I were engaged, giving me the right to ask them to depart. Carl, aware of the situation, sneered at me and said, Brooke, you are truly despicable. One moment you talk about ending our engagement and the next you are holding on to Newton property. It's clear you're using the breakup as a bargaining tool. I didn't bother to respond. Soon, either of them will be meeting with me. The restaurant manager approached Carl and politely requested Mr. Newton, if you could please step outside. This unexpected turn of events visibly angered Carl, his eyes flashing with frustration. Brooke, have you lost your mind? He retorted. I remained composed and responded. This establishment is under my ownership now. I determine who stays and who goes. Carl pointed a finger at my face and warned, you'll regret this, Brooke. With a smile, I assured him, I have no doubts. I will not be the one filled with regrets. Carl turned to Naomi and urged her to leave, stating there are plenty of other restaurants in town. Let's go. As they began to depart, I raised my voice and commanded, stop right there. Carl smirked confidently, remarking, I knew you would try to intervene, but it's too late now. I stood my ground, insisting, unless you apologize to Naomi, don't expect me to look back. Witnessing his arrogant demeanor, I had a sudden revelation of my past maybe in dealing with him. I let out a scornful laugh and said, you misunderstood. Certainly, I understand. I stopped you because you forgot to pay for your meal. Carl's expression darkened instantly as he growled, Brooke, I was just about to give you one last chance. Throw it away. Don't come prying to me later. I replied calmly, I assure you, I won't regret this. With someone like Mr. Newton wouldn't leave without paying, right? Carl clenched his teeth and reluctantly pulled out another credit card, saying through gritted teeth, fine, charge it. Not long after, the manager returned looking uneasy. I'm sorry, Mr. Newton, but this card has been declined due to insufficient funds, he informed. Carl's face paled as he realized his grandfather had likely cut off the account. Glaring at me angrily, he said, Brooke, do you think this will break me? I won't back down. I raised an eyebrow and retorted sarcastically, then pay. Nobody's stopping you. His expression tightened as he realized he had no money at that moment. With no other choice, he reluctantly started dialing his parents. Unsurprisingly, neither of them answered. As he made phone calls to a few friends asking to borrow money, his face grew increasingly somber. However, each friend he contacted quickly came up with excuses and ended the calls. It was evident to me that Mr. Newton's patience with Carl had worn thin. Not only had he frozen Carl's accounts, but he had also spread the word throughout town, resulting in nobody in Southville wanting to be associated with him anymore. I observed Carl's unbothered demeanor and asked Mr. Newton what was wrong. Could he truly not afford the meal? In a gesture of reconciliation, I offered to let Carl run a tab if he asked politely for the sake of their history. Carl's pride was wounded, and his face became rigid. Accusing me of cruelty in attempting to break him, he refused to back down. I calmly responded that he was welcome to pay his bill. Carl's anger escalated visibly. His fists clenched tightly. Just as he was on the brink of explosion, Naomi intervened with a soft plea for him not to get upset, offering to pay instead. I was taken aback when she unexpectedly intervened in the situation. I couldn't help but question if she was aware of the high cost of the meal. Carl blushed and mumbled an apology to Naomi, who kindly reassured him that it was okay. She expressed that she wasn't someone who placed importance on money and suggested splitting the bill. Carl appeared remorseful, his eyes reflecting regret. It seemed like he might be regretting his past decisions regarding Naomi. However, I didn't want to be involved in their personal drama. The manager returned with Naomi's credit card, only to inform her that it had exceeded its limit. Naomi was visibly embarrassed, insisting that her card had a $5,000 limit. The manager calmly explained that the bottle of imported red wine from France was priced at $10,000, making the total bill more than the card's limit. I watched Naomi with a mix of concern and confusion. Years ago, a smirk had adorned Carl's face as he first pursued her. She remained clueless about his true identity, although it no longer held any significance. "So, Miss Foley, you don't have the money after all?" I inquired, pausing for emphasis. Naomi defiantly raised her chin and produced several more fuller credit cards. "Who says I don't have the money? Swipe them out, one of them will work," she asserted confidently. Without hesitation, the manager processed the transaction with the cards, while Carl appeared visibly distressed at the expense. He shot me a glaring growl, "Brooke, you think everyone is as fixated on money as you are. This isn't over. Mark my words." With that threat, he turned on his heel and left with Naomi. Leaning in, my friend whispered, "Is Carl losing his mind, Brooke?" Naomi seems to have figured out who he really is and is taking advantage, pretending to be his girlfriend to profit from the situation. I watched them exit, suppressing a chuckle. "She's far more cunning than you realize," I responded to my friend's puzzled expression. Confused but uninterested in explaining, I anticipated she would be disappointed this time. With the changing dynamics of the Newton family, the longevity of their so-called true love came into question. Despite the interruption, my mood remained unchanged. After my meal, I headed back to the office. Upon entering, I encountered Joel hurrying in, appearing as though he had just arrived from the airport. "Brooke, have you truly considered this?" he inquired, slightly breathless, referring to the engagement. Playfully, I teased, "What if I were to say I regret it now? Is it too late?" Joel's eyes turned red instantly. "Yes, it is," he firmly stated. "I already offered you a choice. No matter what, I won't allow anyone else to take you from me." Although only half joking, Joel's seriousness took me by surprise. Did his words hint at long-standing feelings for me? However, there was no time to dwell on it as my parents then called, suggesting a dinner meeting with his family to discuss further. The evening proceeded smoothly. My parents appeared to be even more pleased with him than before when I decided to change the engagement. Initially, some of my frustration had driven that decision. But now as I looked at Joel, gentle, considerate, and handsome, I began to see the potential for a happy marriage. I found myself starting to look forward to it. The following day, I had a wedding photo appointment. But to my dismay, Carl and Naomi also arrived at the same studio. As soon as Carl saw me, his face contorted into a scowl and he hurled accusations at me, insinuating that I was stalking him. His wounded pride from the previous day's events seemed to drive him to humiliation. I gazed at him coolly, devoid of any remnants of the affection I once felt. Instead, I brimmed with deep revulsion. Never had I imagined that someone I loved so deeply could abruptly stop loving me. "Carl," I said calmly, "unless I am mistaken, this is not stalking. The audio does not belong to you. If you can be here, why can't I?" Carl squinted his eyes as he spoke, standing in the wedding photography studio. "What are you doing here alone?" In his mind, he suspected that I was there out of jealousy. "I've already explained everything to you," he continued with a sharpness in his tone. "Naomi and I are just pretending for 3 days. After that, I will marry you. The wedding photos with her are merely a symbolic farewell. Why do you have to complicate things?" I remained composed as I replied, "Carl, take your photos. I'll take mine. We no longer have anything to do with each other." Carl frowned, puzzled. "What do you mean? Who are you taking wedding photos with?" Noticing I was alone, he didn't believe me. Naomi sneered and interjected, "Brooke, taking wedding photos requires 2 people. You're here by yourself. People take wedding photos alone?" Her tone was clearly mocking. Just then, a calm male voice interrupted her. "Who said she's here alone?" Before I could even turn around, Joel had already entered the room. As I stood at the entrance, he approached me with a warm grin and apologetically remarked, "Sorry for making you wait." I returned his smile and reassured him, "No worries, I just arrived as well." Carl's eyes widened in astonishment as he addressed me, "Uncle Joel, you're back." He glanced back and forth between us, clearly perplexed. Joel met his gaze head on and declared, Brooke and I are here to take our wedding photos. Naomi's eyes betrayed a hint of jealousy as she observed Joel's regal stature and calm demeanor. In contrast, Carl regarded me with disdain, sneering, "This is absurd. Brought my uncle into your scheme just to push me away from Naomi. Do you really think this charade will sway my decision? Keep dreaming." His arrogance prompted a chuckle from me, and I quipped, "Carl, you truly hold yourself in such high regard. What makes you so confident that I can't move on?" Carl snorted, "Brooke, everyone knows you've been fixated on me. You chased me since we were kids. At 16, you vowed to marry no one else. Do you expect me to believe you're over me?" Before I could respond, Joel stepped forward and delivered a resounding slap across Carl's face, causing him to stagger back while grasping his cheek in pain. "How dare you strike me?" Carl exclaimed, only to be met with Joel's calm response, "Brooke will be your aunt, and you must show respect to your elders. Discipline is necessary if you don't." Carl's face flushed with a mix of pain and anger, redirecting his frustration towards me. "Brooke, what did you say to Uncle Joel to go along with this?" Without warning, Joel struck Carl with the back of his hand, emphasizing the need for manners. "Respect is non-negotiable. Address her as Aunt Brooke," Joel insisted. Carl stood in shock, unable to comprehend the unfolding situation. "Uncle Joel, how could you agree to this?" Sensing the tension, Naomi tugged on Carl's sleeve, urging him to leave. "Let's go, Carl. We can find another studio." Still boiling with rage, Carl retorted, "You were here first, Naomi. It's unfair for us to leave because of this." However, Naomi's expression suddenly changed as she winced and placed a hand on her stomach. "Paloma." Carl's expression changed instantly when I told him I wasn't feeling well and suggested going to the hospital first. "Don't worry, Naomi. I'll take you there right away," he assured me. As we were about to leave, he glanced back at me with one last angry glare. "Brooke, I won't forget this. You'll regret it," he warned. Joel moved to intervene, but I gently held him back, urging him to let it go. Naomi's health was the priority, I reminded him, gesturing at the trail of blood on the ground. Understanding dawned on Joel, yet he still looked at me and whispered, "Have you truly let it all go?" I gazed at the man who had stood up for me, his initial confidence now replaced by a sense of injustice and bitterness. I reassured him, "Don't worry. I take my feelings and commitment seriously." Although Joel appeared puzzled, his expression softened, and 2 days before the wedding, you changed your mind. I smirked at his pouting face and suggested, "How about we skip the photo shoot and go straight to City Hall?" Joel's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Perfect. We can take wedding photos after getting the marriage certificate." He may not say it, but I knew he wouldn't let anyone hurt me if he wouldn't hurt himself. On our way to the marriage bureau, Joel discreetly messaged his assistant. As we filled out the paperwork, my phone buzzed. I checked the message from Carl. "Brooke, let's postpone the wedding. But don't worry, I'll still marry you." Joel noticed my hesitation and asked nervously, "What's wrong?" His tense expression made it clear he feared I might change my mind. Surprisingly, after reading Carl's message again, I felt nothing. No turmoil in my heart. A true love. Love is unconditional, and if someone does not reciprocate that love, they will always find a way to leave. I responded with a smile, calmly completed the form with a pen in hand, and felt a sense of relief wash over Joel as we held the red booklet. As our wedding day approached, I anticipated a smooth ceremony, but tensions arose when Joel arrived to pick me up and was unexpectedly faced with Carl also present. Carl's eyes filled with anger as he confronted me, insisting that our wedding was really postponed. Displeased by his assumption that I would continue to wait for him, I met his gaze and sternly declared that my decision to marry had nothing to do with him. Carl stubbornly argued that my love for him was undeniable and accused me of pressuring him into marriage. With a pained expression, he conceded, acknowledging my victory and expressing his readiness to marry me. Just as he was about to speak of someone else, his voice trailed off. "Uncle, I need you to leave." I couldn't help but chuckle. Locking eyes with Carl, I remarked, "Carl, trying to get Joel to walk away this time won't work." Perplexed, Carl stood speechless as Joel boldly moved forward and delivered a swift kick to his chest. "That's enough, Carl," Joel stated firmly. Upon the arrival of the older Newton brothers, one of them cautioned Joel to take it easy on his nephew. "He's family after all. Go easy on him," he advised. Carl's parents rushed at his side as he lay on the ground, with his mother swiftly intervening to quell the conflict. "Mom," Carl protested indignantly, "he's my uncle and he came to take my bride. You need to talk to Grandpa and send him back overseas." Mrs. Newton, feeling embarrassed, reprimanded Carl, demanding an immediate apology to his uncle. Carl appeared taken aback. What? Why should I apologize? He's the one who stole my fiancé. He should be the one apologizing. Mrs. Newton's tone sharpened. Stop it. Your grandfather has already called off your engagement with the Tate family. Joel and Brooke's wedding came as a shock to Carl. His voice faltered as he spoke to his mother, expressing disbelief that she had been complicit in hiding the truth from him. Unwilling to accept that his relationship was truly over, Carl was blindsided when Joel produced their marriage certificate, solidifying Brooke as his wife. Threatening to sever family ties if Carl interfered again, Joel's warning hung heavy in the air. Carl found himself frozen, staring at the red marriage license in his hands as if struck by lightning. The reality that Brooke had married someone else on what was meant to be their wedding day shook him to the core. Taking Naomi to the new house that was meant to be their shared space, Carl grappled with the truth of his shattered plans. Upon arriving home, he found that the house had been sold, realizing then the true extent of Brooke's anger. Despite keeping his promise to return, she had married someone else in his absence. Joel's reassuring voice broke through the confusion as he said, "Let's go," before sweeping me into his arms and leading me towards the waiting car. The wedding proceeded flawlessly, and I had assumed I would be moving into the Newton estate with Joel post-ceremony. However, I was surprised to find that he had arranged for us to reside in a private villa that perfectly reflected my taste in every aspect of its design. Intrigued, I questioned Joel about how he had managed to arrange everything so perfectly in such a short time, considering he had just returned to the country. With a calm smile, he replied, "That is because I have harbored feelings for you for a long time. I left for overseas when you chose Carl over me at the age of 18. As I gave Carl a playful look, I couldn't help but notice that this villa didn't seem like something you had planned 8 years ago. It felt more like it had been put together in the past couple of years," he chuckled softly, piquing my curiosity even more. "The notion that someone had been silently preparing for me all this time made my heart race," he continued. "Initially, I believed that as long as you were happy, that was sufficient. However, about a year ago, I saw Carl leading Naomi overseas, and it became clear to me that things had not changed. It dawned on me that Carl had never truly let go of Naomi all these years. They had been seeing each other clandestinely behind my back," I inquired. "So you had everything planned in advance, just waiting for the right moment to call off the wedding?" I then looked at him with a glint of amusement. Joel tenderly pulled me onto his lap and declared with quiet conviction, "You have. I knew you would have." I couldn't quite understand what fueled his confidence, but before I could inquire, Joel's phone rang with a call from Mr. Newton, summoning us to his home urgently. Although Joel hesitated, we had no choice but to comply, despite it being the beginning of our wedding night. Upon arriving at the Newton residence, we found Carl on his knees, with Mr. Newton expressing anger by kicking him and questioning his actions. Mrs. Newton suggested that perhaps allowing the pregnant woman into the family through marriage would be a solution. The pieces of the puzzling situation finally clicked for me when I realized Naomi was pregnant, explaining Joel's earlier insistence that I couldn't marry Carl. The truth or dare game had merely been a facade to divert attention. In the past, this revelation might have crushed me, but now I felt grateful for escaping the situation. It was too late. I had hoped it would be the resolution we'd been seeking, but then Carl, still kneeling, met my gaze and firmly declared, "Grandfather, I cannot marry her. The woman I loved is already taken, and I will not wed another." The entire Newton family fell into silence as Carl's words hung heavy in the air, devoid of romanticism but filled with despair and futility. Joel, sensing the underlying message, instinctively squeezed my hand in understanding. Despite feeling a sense of resignation, I chose not to dwell on it, as Joel and I were already husband and wife. Turning to the old man, I spoke gently, "Dad, Joel and I have decided to pursue opportunities abroad. There are ongoing projects that require our attention." Joel's surprised expression prompted me to offer reassurance with a comforting squeeze of his hand, explaining that his quick return was necessary given our recent marriage. I should accompany him. It's the right thing to do. My words clearly conveyed my stance. Joel was visibly touched by my decision. In contrast, Carl appeared completely defeated, as if all hope had vanished from his world. Mr. Newton, however, expressed his approval with a nod, saying gently, "Good. I will be at ease as long as you and Joel can peacefully coexist." Upon our return home, Joel promptly arranged for the earliest available flight. I could sense his apprehension that prolonging our stay might lead to further complications. He simply wanted to depart from this place as soon as possible. Before leaving, I felt it was appropriate to bid farewell to my parents. They had no objections, only reminding me to take good care of myself and strive for a happy life. Unexpectedly, as I made my way back to the Newton estate, I encountered Naomi standing at the gate, seemingly waiting for someone. Upon seeing me approaching, a faintly bitter smile formed on her lips. "Quietly," she said, "Brooke, you emerged victorious." I furrowed my brow slightly and replied, "Naomi, I was never." "Do you know what is so infuriating about you? It is that calm, indifferent attitude of yours. You always act like nothing matters, and yet you get everything that others could never have in a lifetime." I watched her struggle to keep her emotions in check and could not help but let out a cold laugh. "Then you can only blame your fate. Even if I had stepped aside, even if Carl and I were no longer engaged, you still would not have had him. That only proves you were born unlucky. Some things are simply not meant for you." Naomi's face went pale, but I did not spare her another glance. Turned and walked toward the house without hesitation. I knew the truth behind our engagement. Naomi had left the country back then, unaware of Carl's true identity. When she realized that life abroad was not what she had imagined, she regretted it and found her way back to Carl. Once she discovered who he really was, she clung to him. She went to great lengths, even becoming pregnant in hopes of securing his commitment. However, her plans did not unfold as she had envisioned. Although she pictured a future together with him, she never expected Carl to still decline marriage in the end. I struggled to comprehend Carl and had little desire to do so any longer. The past should remain in the past as life carries on. Upon entering the house, I noticed Carl inside, having overheard my conversation with Naomi. Without speaking a word, I walked past him and headed upstairs. Shortly after, I heard voices trailing behind me. Carl expressed to Naomi, "My heart belongs elsewhere. I will care for the child, but I cannot marry you." Naomi's voice trembled as she questioned, "Why? Brooke is married now and you missed your chance with her." Carl's response was somber, "I know, and I regret it deeply." The following morning, before dawn, Joel and I were already en route to the airport. He expressed concerns about mine. Brooke's friend Joel may have sensed her hunger as he left to fetch breakfast for her. As she sat in the lounge, her gaze landed on a notebook placed next to her. Curiosity led her to open it, revealing neat, familiar handwriting on the pages. Suddenly, a clear memory from her past emerged, recalling a time when the Newton family had left notes and a bottle of milk for her during a difficult period when she was recovering from a car accident at age 16. Despite being homebound with a fractured leg and unable to attend school, someone would leave class notes in a paper crane by her window every morning. Brooke had initially thought it was Carl, a senior from her school, who was behind the kind gestures, but she was in for a surprise. Just then, Joel returned with breakfast, asking gently if she had been waiting long as sunlight streamed through the windows. As the first light of dawn filtered through the window and the stars gradually disappeared from the sky, his face was illuminated by the early morning glow. In that moment, I felt a deep stirring within me. The icy weight that had burdened my heart for so long melted away, allowing a quiet river of emotion to flow freely at last. It felt reminiscent of my teenage years, with the sound of my rapid heartbeat echoing in my ears. Filled with uncertainty yet brimming with vitality. Without a second thought, I rose to my feet, dashed towards him, and enveloped him in a tight embrace. "Shouldn't I be asking you that?" I whispered softly. "Have I made you wait too long?" 6 months went by, and I discovered I was pregnant. During a call from my mother to check on me, she couldn't resist sharing the latest gossip about Carl and Naomi. "Old Mr. Newton finally severed ties with Carl," she sighed. "Seems that Naomi couldn't bear the thought of living without his money. Their arguments have grown more frequent." Pausing for effect, she added, "Despite it all, they decided to stay together for the sake of the baby. The child arrived just a few days ago. Guess what? They did a paternity test, and it turns out the baby isn't Carl's." I could hardly believe it. Imagine the fury evident on Carl's face. My mother recounted how he had completely lost control, yelling and nearly strangling Naomi. Carl's words echoed in the room. "Do you know what you've done? I sacrificed the person I love most because of you. Had it not been for the intervention of the hospital staff," my mother added, "the situation could have ended tragically. Naomi was left disabled, while Carl was sent abroad by Mr. Newton." As I absorbed this information, I found myself feeling a strange sense of detachment. It wasn't happiness, yet it wasn't sadness either. It was as though a stillness had settled in my heart, realizing that none of it pertained to me any longer. On the day of my departure, Joel took charge of everything, ensuring our bags were taken care of and that I was well prepared for the journey ahead. Right before leaving, a peculiar sensation washed over me as if someone was observing me intently. Scanning the surroundings, I couldn't spot anything out of the ordinary. Joel picked up on my expression and inquired if everything was okay. I reassured him with a smile, dismissing the feeling. "It's nothing," I replied softly. "Let's go, my parents must be waiting." I did not know that as I walked out of the terminal, Carl stepped out of the shadows behind me. He watched my back as I disappeared into the crowd, eyes fixed and unblinking. Only when I was completely out of sight did he turn away and board a plane to a faraway country. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.